Okay, this is going to be the next unit, our next lesson in trig. We're now going to cover the secant and cosecant graphs. Okay, now what's unique about these, remember in sine and cosine we had values, okay, that were a little bit different, all right? Cosine started with 1 and then 0, then -1 and 0. We did our two periods. For sine we went 0, 1, 0, -1, 0, and then went to our two periods. For cosecant, here are what our values are going to be, okay? If you went around the unit circle, okay? Remember, we did the reciprocals and we had some that ended up with undefined stuff. So in sine, normally this value was 0 to start. Well, what's the opposite of 0? Undefined. The reciprocal of 1 was 1, okay? So we started with 0, then pi over 2, right? And then pi, which was 0, which reciprocal would be undefined. Then 3 pi over 2, right, which would be -1. And then 2 pi, we're back at undefined, okay? All right? And then we would just keep this process going like we did before. It would be 1, undefined, -1, undefined. That was two periods of the function, okay? Now, the secant function, because basically we want to graph two full periods where we're going to have this undefined, and I want to put this, at your undefined points, at undefined, you put a vertical asymptote. So what we want to have in order to do that, okay, for secant, it is the same thing, okay? Secant has the same values, but we start at -pi over 2. So just make sure you have that down. Now what that means for us is we're going to use for secant, this is for secant only, and actually we get the tangents very similar. For secant only, all right, we're also going to set equal to -pi over 2 instead of 0. Okay, this is just for secant. Okay, all right, this is just for secant. Okay, all right, that's our starting angle. Okay, we set it equal to 0 for the phase shift, and I want you to have that down. Okay, all right. So make this a little cleaner for you. Okay, so for secant, we do the starting angle at that. For this, we do for the phase shift. Okay, that'll be part of our properties. Okay, in a little bit. Okay, same values though. Okay, same values. So let's start with graphing a cosecant function. Okay, let's say I have, let's do that in the next page. Let's say I got y equals 2 cosecant of, let's just do a regular of x, okay? All right, of x, just so you can see sort of what it looks like. All right. So what I would have is my values, okay? Like I said, my values are going to be undefined 1, undefined -1, undefined. Keep the process going. 1 undefined, -1 undefined. Okay. Now, our angles set equal to 0. Okay. All right. So let's do 0 to start. Okay. So that's going to be my starting angle. All right. Then I want to find the period. Period of the function is still 2 pi divided by the number that's in front of x, which would be 1. To find the interval, that does not change as well. We take our period and divide by 4. Okay? All right? So to get this, it's period divided by the number in front of x. All right? Same deal. All right? So I do 2 pi divided by 4, which is pi over 2. Okay? All right? Just in the interest of time, this would just be then those values. Pi over 2, pi, 3 pi over 2, 2 pi, 5 pi over 2, 3 pi, 7 pi over 2, 4 pi. okay? I want to keep that very basic, okay? Now, what does this 2 do to the values? Multiply by 2. Now, undefined is going to stay undefined. This is going to be 2, it's going to be -2, undefined, 2, -2. Okay, now, what does the graph look like? Okay, we'll put 4 pi at the end here. Okay, all right. Put 2 pi in here. All right, so pi over 2, pi, 3 pi over 2, 5 pi over 2, 3 pi, 7 pi over 2. Okay, graph looks a little bit different. Okay, all right. At 0, you're going to be undefined. Okay, so I would do that. At pi over 2, you're at 2. At pi, you're undefined. Okay? At 3 pi over 2, you're at -2. At 2 pi, you're undefined. At 5 pi over 2, you're at 2. At 3 pi, you're undefined. Okay? At 7 pi over 2, you're at -2. And at 4 pi, you're undefined. So as you can see, we're sort of bracketed by this. Okay? Now, what would normally happen here, okay? What would normally happen, all right, is we would have, if we was signed, it would go like this. It would connect throughout that. So the concept is that my graphs would look like this. It would be here, it would be here, it would be here, and it would be here, okay? So that's what the cosecant graph looks like. It looks like parabolas, okay? Now, someone's gonna ask, Mr. Evans, how do I know whether the parabola is going up or down? Here's a good rule of thumb, is that the curves are always going away from the other point. So they would not go towards this point. So you're not gonna have these go towards this. Same thing is you're not gonna have these go towards these things. They gotta go away. Goes away, goes away, all right? All right, so that's how you would get that graph, all right? For secant, everything is the same except, okay, except that the thing is set equal to, let's do a secant graph now. Let's say I've got 4 secant of, let's just say 2x, okay? 4 secant of 2x. Now, how does this start? Very similar how cosecant starts. Undefined, 1, undefined, -1, undefined, 1, undefined, -1, undefined. Doesn't change. Values are good, okay? Now, what I'm going to do is set this equal to 2 things. I'm going to set it equal to -pi over 2. I'm also going to set it equal to 0. Okay? All right? I'll do the simple one first. Okay? So this right here, this is my phase shift. Okay? That will have meaning for us when we get to actually finding the characteristics. This, I'm going to divide this by 2. Okay? So it's going to be x equals -pi over 4. This is my starting angle. Okay, so I'm doing -pi over 4. Okay, so that's the difference you need to watch and seek it. Now, I need to figure out my period. Period of the function is 2 pi divided by 2, which would be 1 pi. Okay, to figure out my interval, nothing changes. Take the period of 1 pi and divide by 4, which would be 1 pi over 4. Okay, now I'm going to do some fraction adding, okay, like I did before to come up with my angles. Okay, so I got -1/4 plus 1/4 would be 0. All right, that's pretty easy, 0. 0 plus 1/4 would just be 1/4, so pi over 4. Okay, 1/4 plus 1/4 is 2/4. 2/4 is pi over 2. 2/4 plus 1/4 is 3/4. 3 pi over 4. Okay, 3/4 plus 1/4 is 4/4, which would be 1 pi. And then 4/4 plus 1/4 is 5/4. And 5/4 plus a fourth would be 6/4, which would be 3 pi over 2. And 6/4 plus 1/4 is 7/4. So 7/4 pi. Okay. All right, now I'm going to erase the fraction stuff. Okay. I'm going to erase that. Okay. Like I said, I'd have a scrap piece of paper to do the fraction stuff. Okay. All right. Now, what's going to happen with my values? I'm going to multiply by 4 here, so that's now going to be 4, -4, 4, -4. Okay. So I'm going from negative pi over 4 to about 7/4 or about 2 pi. Okay, so I'm going to do one of these numbers. Okay. All right, so I got negative pi over 2, 1 pi, 3 pi over 2, and 2 pi. Right? How did I know to go that far? Well, 4 goes into 7 only one time, so I know it's no more than 2. Okay, now I'm going to divide these, cut these up. Okay, so this will be a negative 1/4. This would be a positive 1/4. 3, remember they move in odd increments. 5, 7. Okay. At negative pi over 4, I'm undefined, so I'll do my asymptote through that. Okay, at 0, I'm at 4. Okay, at pi over 4, I'm also undefined. At pi over 2, I'm down at -4. At 3/4 pi, I'm undefined. At 1 pi, I'm back up at 4. At 5/4, I'm undefined. At 3/2, I'm at -4. Okay, at 7/4, I'm undefined. Okay, so the question is which way do I go with the U shape? Well, if I go this way, I'd be heading towards that point, so I got to go here, here, and here. This one, I don't want to head towards that, so I'm that way. All right, this one, I don't want to head towards that, so I'm that way. This one, I don't want to head towards that, so I'm that way. And I'm good. And that would be the secant function. As you can see, very similar to cosecant, except you have to set that equal to negative pi over 2. Okay? All right. Let me do one more with you. Let me do 2 more with you with cosecant and secant. Okay? Let's go with y equals, let's say secant of 4x plus pi okay, minus 3. Actually, no, I want to go cosecant, sorry. We do cosecant first. All right, so start out with my values. Let's go undefined. 1, undefined. -1, undefined. Dashes. 1, undefined. -1, defined. Okay? Now, would like to set this equal to negative pi over 2. I also want to see it set it equal to 0. Okay? Now, I would subtract pi. Okay? Now, that's -1/2 minus 1. So I'd have to get a common denominator. So I would have to multiply by 2 and 2. So that'd be -1/2 pi minus 2 pi over 2. Which would be -3 pi over 2. Okay? All right? And so then I want to divide by 4. So my starting one is -3 pi over 8. Okay? Then what I want to do is I want to take the period of the function. I want to take 2 pi. Divide it by the number that's in front of there, which would be 4, which that's going to give me pi over 2. That's the period. Okay? All right? So it's 2 pi over 4, which would reduce to pi over 2. Okay? So my period there, I'll write this at the bottom, my period is pi over 2. And then I want to take find my interval. So I got pi over 2 divided by 4, which should be pi over 8. Okay, all right, so my interval is pi over 8. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and erase some of this stuff here. Okay, well, I got to do the fraction stuff. So I got to do negative 3/8 plus 1/8. Okay, that's negative 2/8, okay, which is negative pi over 4. All right, negative 2/8 plus 1/8 is negative 1/8, so it's negative pi over 8. Negative 1/8 plus 1/8 is 0. 0 plus 1/8 is 1/8, and 1/8 plus 1/8 is 2/8. So let's put all those in there. So it'd be 0, pi over 8, it'd be pi over 4 now. Okay, 2/8 plus 1/8 is 3. 3/8 plus 1/8 is 4/8. So that's 3/8 pi, and pi over 2. And then 4/8 plus 1/8 is 5/8. Okay, 5/8 pi. All right. So let me go ahead and erase a lot of this stuff here. At least the fractions, at least. Erase all that. My phase shift there was negative pi over 4. Okay, so I'm not even to really 1 pi here, so let's just go make this easy. We'll put this as 1 pi, and let's go to the other end of the spectrum. I'm not even at that, so I'll go negative 1 pi. So let's go negative pi over 2, positive pi over 2. What I'm going to have to do is split this to get the quarters. So that's 1/4, 3/4, 1/4, 3/4. Okay? Now, since I got a bunch of 8s there, I got to divide out there. So I got 1/8, cut that would be 3, cut that would be 5, cut that would be 7. Cut that would be negative 1/8, cut that would be negative 3/8, cut that would be negative 5/8, cut that would be negative 7/8. Okay? All right, now, what's going to happen with my values? I'm going to subtract 3. So the undefineds don't change. That's going to be negative 2 now. That's going to be negative 4 now. That's going to be negative 2 now. And that's going to be negative 4. Okay, and negative 3/8 I'm undefined. Let's find that. That's right here. Negative 3/8 I'm undefined. At negative 1/4 I'm at negative 2. At negative 1/8 I'm undefined. Okay, at 0 I'm at negative 4. At 1/8 I'm undefined. At 1/4 I'm at negative 2. At 3/8 I'm undefined. At 5/2, at 1/2 I'm at negative 4. And then at 5/8 I'm undefined. Okay, now, which way do those go? Okay, all right, well, I don't want to approach that, so that one's going to go here and here. This one's going to go down, up, down, and I'm good. Okay, so they alternate. All right. I just did that for secant. Sorry, that would be for secant. I apologize. That would be for secant, because I set it equal to negative pi over 2. So, sorry, that should be for secant, okay? The values are all the same, all that other stuff is the same, all right? But that would be for secant, okay? Sorry about that. Probably thinking, why did you start it there? All right, let's do another one. Let's do 3. Did I do 3 already? No, I did. Okay. Let's do 3 cosecant let's go x over 2 minus pi over 4 plus 1. Now this one we will do. Okay. Okay. All right. So my values are undefined, 1, undefined, -1, undefined, 1, undefined, -1, undefined. If you want to figure out the values first, you're going to times 3, then plus 1. So times 3 would be 3, plus 1 would be 4. Times 3 would be -3, plus 1 would be -2. So it's just going to be 4 and -2. Values are good. Okay? Now, since it's cosecant, okay, I want to take this, set it equal to 0, okay? So that would be added over there, which would be pi over 4, okay? All right, and then cross multiply, that's going to be 2 pi over 4 or pi over 2. So that is my starting angle, okay? I want to get my period, 2 pi divided by the number in front of x, which is 1/2. You gotta be careful here. Fraction flips over. So that's gonna be 4 pi. Okay? All right. My interval is gonna be my period, which is 4 pi, divided by 4, which would be 1 pi. Okay? So, all right, I got 1/2 plus 1. Get a common denominator, so times 2 times 2. So 1/2 plus 2 over 2 would be 3 over 2. 3 over 2 plus 2 over 2 is 5 over 2. 5 over 2 plus 2 over 2 is 7 over 2. 7 over 2 plus 2 over 2 is 9 over 2. Let's put some of those in there now. So that's going to be 3 pi over 2. It's going to be 5 pi over 2. That's going to be 7 pi over 2. That's going to be 9 pi over 2. Okay, 9 over 2 plus 2 over 2 is 11. 11 plus 2 over 2 is 13 over 2. 11 over 2, 13 over 2. And then 13 over 2 plus 2 over 2 is 15 over 2. 15 over 2 plus 2 over 2 is 17 over 2. So 15 over 2, 17 over 2. Okay? All right, now, so we said, Mr. Evans, how big do we got to make this? Well, how many times does 2 go into 17? That's 8. So probably have to go to 9 pi. Okay, let's go to 9 pi. So we're going to have to really space this thing out. Okay, let's go to 9 pi. So big graph. All right, let's go to 9 pi. Okay, so it might be 1, 2 pi, 3 pi, 4 pi, 5 pi, 6, 7. I didn't even draw that right. We gotta make that a lot smaller. Okay, so we're probably about here 1 pi, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Okay, now, how do I get these? I gotta divide them. They're all gonna be halves. Okay, so this would be 1/2 pi, 3 halves. Let's go the other way. 1/2, 3 halves, 5, 7, 9, 11, 13, 15, 17. Okay? So like I said, if you got those big numbers, start with the big and then cut it from there. All right. So at 1/2, I'm undefined. At 3 halves, I'm up at 4. 3 halves, 4. 5 halves, I'm undefined. At 7 halves pi, I'm at -2. At 9 halves, I'm undefined. At 11 halves, I'm up at 4. At 13 halves, I'm undefined. At 15 halves, I'm at negative 2. At 17 halves, I'm undefined. Okay, and that's how you do it. Okay, so just like I've done in the past, I'm going to give you a secant one. Let's do 5 secant of x plus x over 2 plus pi. I want you to graph that one. And y equals 2 cosecant of, let's say 2x minus 3 pi over 2 minus 1. Or we'll do plus 1. Okay? So go ahead, pause your video, go ahead and do those, and we will go over those in class.